A Saturday afternoon in South Los Angeles, spring 1971. Bruce was walking home along Crenshaw Boulevard with a bag of groceries in his arms. Milk, bread, eggs, nothing out of the ordinary. He was dressed simply, jeans, a jacket, sneakers, just a man heading back from the store. This was South Los Angeles, a predominantly black neighborhood that had been built and shaped by its community over many years. Bruce had moved here because the rent was affordable while he worked on building his school, his reputation, and his future. Most of the neighbors were friendly. They'd wave hello, ask about kung fu, show genuine curiosity about what he did. Some of the local kids wanted to learn. Bruce taught them sometimes, free lessons in the park, basic techniques, discipline, focus, respect. The kids took to it. The parents appreciated it. It gave the children something real to hold on to. But not everyone welcomed outsiders. To some, Bruce was simply a man who didn't belong, an Asian man in their neighborhood, taking up space, using resources they felt should stay within their community. Those feelings didn't always come to the surface, but on this particular Saturday afternoon, they did. 3 men on the corner. Bruce turned onto his street, 3 blocks from home. The late afternoon sun stretched long, warm shadows across the sidewalk. A gray primer Cadillac sat idling on the corner, deep bass soul music thumping from inside. 3 men stood nearby, all young, all in their early 20s, dressed in the street fashion of the era. Bright colors, platform shoes, wide-brimmed hats. They were talking, passing a bottle, nothing that would draw official attention. But the energy around them was different. Not looking for trouble exactly, but positioned to find it if it walked their way. Bruce kept walking, eyes forward, body relaxed, not engaging, but not making a show of avoiding them either. The kind of walk that belongs to someone who knows exactly who he is and has nothing to prove, which, in a situation like this, was its own kind of statement. One of the 3 men noticed him. He nudged the man next to him. They all turned. Something passed between them without a single word, a shared decision, the kind of silent communication that develops between people who have operated together for years. As Bruce approached, the 3 men spread out slightly, not dramatically, but just enough to make the sidewalk difficult to pass without acknowledging them. Bruce slowed down and read the situation. 3 men, all bigger than him, all younger, all carrying that particular street energy that can shift from casual to dangerous without much warning. He had encountered situations like this before: Hong Kong, San Francisco, Oakland. The cities changed, the faces changed, the dynamic never did. The confrontation.
"Yo, hold up," said the tallest one, 6'2", lean and athletic, wearing a tank top. "You lost?" Bruce stopped about 10 feet away. "No, just walking home." "Walking home? You live around here?" "Yeah, few blocks over." The 3 men exchanged glances, amused looks. "Few blocks over," the tall one repeated slowly, drawing it out. "Man, you sure about that? This ain't Chinatown." "I know where I am." "Do you, though?" He stepped forward. "Because this is our neighborhood, our street. You don't exactly look like you belong here." Bruce kept his voice steady. "I'm just passing through. No problems, no trouble." "No trouble? That's good. That's real good." The tall one smiled, not with warmth, but with the particular amusement of someone who has already decided how this ends. "What you got in that bag?" "Groceries." "Groceries?" He turned slightly toward his friends, playing to them. "This Chinese dude bought groceries in our neighborhood, using our stores, taking our resources." Then back to Bruce. "The store is public. Anyone can shop there." "Ain't nothing public, man. Everything belongs to somebody. This neighborhood belongs to us. You want to walk through here? That's a toll. Price of passage." Bruce understood the situation completely now. A straightforward shakedown.
hand over money or valuables, or things would turn physical. He'd seen it before in neighborhoods like this, in cities like this. "I don't have much money," Bruce said, "just enough for what's in the bag." "Then give us the bag." "I need it. My family needs it." "Your family?" The tall one laughed. "You got a family living here in this neighborhood? That's bold." His tone shifted, got more personal. "What kind of woman you got? Chinese, Japanese, one of them quiet types?" Bruce's jaw tightened, barely visible, but it happened. "My wife isn't part of this conversation," he said, keeping his voice level. "Why not? I'm just curious. See, we don't see many Asian guys around here. When we do, they're usually running stores, liquor stores, corner shops, making money off our community and taking it back to their own neighborhoods. You one of those?" "No, I teach martial arts." All three men laughed, genuine laughter, real amusement. "You serious? That kung fu stuff, like Bruce Lee on TV?" "I am Bruce Lee." The laughter stopped. The tall one stepped closer, studying Bruce's face with a completely different kind of attention now, recognition moving slowly across his expression. "Wait, you for real? You actually him? The Green Hornet guy?" "Yes." He turned to his friends. "Yo, this is actually him, Bruce Lee, the Kung Fu man." Then back to Bruce, and for just a moment, something briefly resembling genuine admiration crossed his face. "Man, I loved that show. You were cold, real cold. That little mask, those kicks, you looked dangerous." "Thank you." "But that was TV, right? That was choreography, stunt fighting. It wasn't real." "Some of it was real." "Which part?" The starstruck feeling was already fading, the aggressive posture already returning. "The part where you jumped 10 feet, or the part where you knocked out 5 guys with one kick?" He shook his head slowly. "See, that's the problem with you TV guys. You make people think you're tough. You make people think you can really fight, but it's all fake, camera tricks and cooperating stuntmen." Bruce didn't respond to that. He simply stood there, waiting, reading the situation, watching the angles. The grocery bag was getting heavy. He shifted it to his other arm. "Put the bag down," the tall one said. "Let me see something." "See what?" "If you're really as fast as they say, if that kung fu holds up against real street fighters, not stuntmen, not actors, real guys who've been fighting their whole lives. Come on, show me that 1-inch punch, the one everyone talks about." "That's not a good idea." "Why not?" "Because it doesn't work the way people think. It only works when people cooperate." The tall one had closed the distance now, standing inches from Bruce, deep inside his personal space, deliberately testing the line. "I think you're fake, man. I think all that kung fu is just dancing. You're just a performance. I don't think you can actually fight." Bruce set the grocery bag down carefully on the sidewalk, out of the way. The other two men straightened up. Something was actually about to happen. "You really want this?" Bruce asked. "I want to see if you're real, that's all." "Okay, but when I show you, we're done. I pick up my groceries, I walk home. No more problems. Deal. Show me something real. Make me believe it."
1 inch. Bruce stood facing the tall man, about 5 feet between them. The late afternoon sun sat behind Bruce, casting his shadow forward, making his 5'7" frame appear larger than it was. The other two had moved to the side, forming a loose triangle around them. Spectators now, waiting to see what this TV man would actually do. "Come at me," Bruce said. "However you want." "Come at you? Man, I'm not doing the work. You're the kung fu master. You come at me. Show me what you got." Bruce stepped forward, slow and deliberate, closing the distance, 3 feet, then 2, then directly in front of the tall man, close enough to touch. His hand came up, open palm, and rested lightly against the tall man's chest. No pressure, just contact. "What is this?" The tall man looked down at the hand. "You touching me? That's it? That's your kung fu?" "This is the 1-inch punch you asked for. I need contact first, need to establish the distance. Then I demonstrate." "Man, just do it. Quit stalling." Bruce's face went completely still, empty of expression. His body relaxed, not the relaxation of someone surrendering, but the relaxation of a system about to move with total efficiency. His back foot pressed into the pavement, Force generated at the ground traveled upward, through his leg, through his hip, through his core, through his shoulder, into his arm, into the palm already resting against the tall man's chest. 1 inch of space between contact and the full release of that force. And then it released. The sound hit like a gunshot, sharp, loud, bouncing off the buildings on both sides of the street. The tall man's eyes went wide, his mouth opened. Nothing came out. His entire body lifted, actually lifted off the ground, and traveled backward 4, 5 feet until his back connected hard with the side of the Cadillac. The car rocked, the side mirrors shook. He slid down the door and ended up sitting on the pavement, completely stunned, unable to breathe, one hand pressed against his chest, trying to make sense of what his body had just experienced. Nobody moved. The other 2 men were completely still. They had just watched their friend, a man who had been in street fights since he was 12, who had never backed down, who by their own understanding never truly lost, get launched backward by a single touch from this small man they had been in the process of robbing. Their friend was sitting on the ground, looking confused and helpless. Neither of them moved. Bruce stepped back, picked up the grocery bag, and straightened up. Like I said, some of it's real. The tall man was reaching for air, wheezing, his hand pressed hard against his chest. The pain wasn't at the surface, it was deep and internal, like something inside had been quietly rearranged. One of the friends found his voice first. "What did you do to him?" "Showed him what he asked to see. He'll be fine in a few minutes. He just needs to catch his breath." Bruce started walking. He passed the car, past all 3 of them, 1 still on the ground, 2 standing in stunned silence. They weren't sure what to do. Their friend had been dropped and humiliated, but they had also just seen with their own eyes what this small man was capable of generating from a single touch, from a distance of 1 inch. If they pressed this, if they escalated, what would that look like? The question nobody expected. Bruce had gone about 10 steps when one of them called out, "Yo, hold up!" He stopped and turned, ready for the situation to continue, ready to defend himself if it came to that. But the man who had called out didn't look aggressive. He looked like someone who had just witnessed something that genuinely shook his understanding of the world. "Can you teach that? What you just did? Can someone actually learn it?" Bruce hadn't expected that question. He had expected threats, demands, pride reasserting itself, retaliation. He had not expected genuine curiosity. He had not expected a request. "Yes," he said, "anyone can learn it. It takes time, practice, and a real understanding of how the body generates power, but it's learnable." "How much time?" "Depends on the person. Some people grasp the basics within a few months. True mastery, that takes years, possibly decades." The tall man was on his feet now, leaning against the Cadillac, still pressing his chest with one hand, still quietly working through the physical reality of what had happened to him. But his eyes were clear, focused, listening. "I want to learn," the friend said, "if you're willing to teach."
"A different kind of fighting." "Because I've seen a lot of fights," the man said. "Street fights, real brawls, things that ended badly, and I have never, not once, seen anything like what you just did. That was different from anything I know about fighting. That was something else entirely." Bruce took a moment. These 3 men had just attempted to rob him. They had blocked his path, threatened him, tried to take his groceries, made comments about his wife, and now one of them was standing here asking to be taught. Life produced strange turns. He studied all 3 of them carefully, looking for what was real beneath the surface, reading for sincerity, for deception, for the kind of wounded pride that performs humility while quietly planning something else. He found none of that. What he found was genuine interest and something that looked very much like the particular humility that only comes from being truly humbled, not by shame, but by encountering something that simply exceeded everything you previously understood. The tall man spoke then, his voice still rough, still carrying the effort of recovering his breath. "He's serious. We both are. What you just did, it changed something. I thought I knew what real fighting was. Thought street fighting was as real as it gets. But what you just showed me, that's a completely different level. I don't even know what that was. It's called Fa Jing, Bruce said. Explosive power generated from the entire body rather than just the arm. What you felt was maybe 20% of what it can actually produce. The tall man touched his chest again, almost involuntarily. 20%? If you want to understand it properly, I have a school. China. If it is, we talk about regular training. $20 a month? One of the others said quietly. The three of them looked at each other. $20 was real money, resources that could go somewhere else, choices that had to be made. We'll be there, the tall man said. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. A pause. You know who I am now. What's your name? I'm Marcus, this is Dion, and that's Terry. Okay, Marcus, Dion, Terry. I'll see you Tuesday, but understand something before you come. You show up to learn, you're welcome. You show up to cause trouble, you leave. You come with respect, you get it back. That's the arrangement. We understand. Bruce nodded, turned, and walked the rest of the way home. Nobody called out again. Nobody followed. Back home. He made it to his building, climbed the stairs, unlocked the door, and went inside. Linda was in the kitchen. She saw his face the moment he walked in and understood immediately that something had happened. What's wrong? Nothing. I ran into some people, had a conversation. What kind of conversation? Bruce set the groceries on the counter and told her everything. The man on the corner, the shakedown, the challenge, what he had done, and what had come out of it afterward. Linda listened without interrupting. Her expression moved through several distinct states, fear, then anger, then relief, then something more complicated than any of those. You could have been seriously hurt, she said when he finished. 3 men on the street. Anything could have happened. I know. This time it worked out. What about when it's someone with a gun, someone who doesn't care about demonstrations or respect, who just wants to hurt you? Then I deal with that the same way I've always dealt with whatever comes. Linda went quiet. She knew this was who he was. She knew that backing down, showing weakness, allowing people to threaten him or his family without response, wasn't simply a matter of pride. In the neighborhood where they lived, in the world as it actually operated, visible weakness was an open invitation. Show it once, and you became a permanent target. Show strength, and people calculated the cost of challenging you against the potential reward. That calculation mattered. It kept bad situations from becoming far worse ones. Do you think they'll actually come to the school? Maybe not. People say things in the moment, when they're impressed, when the emotion is high. Then they go home, the feeling fades, pride comes back, embarrassment sets in, and they talk themselves out of it. It happens. But if they do come, then I teach them. Same techniques, same philosophy, same respect as anyone else who walks through that door. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. The school above the restaurant in Chinatown had its usual 15 students, a regular cross-section of people, working adults, college students, a few who had been training for years. Bruce was running the warm-up when the door opened. Marcus walked in first, then Dion, then Terry. All 3 of them in gym clothes, looking equal parts determined and uncertain. Bruce hadn't fully expected this. He had told Linda they might not come, and he had genuinely believed it when he said it. Pride was a powerful force. Embarrassment was a powerful force. The gap between saying you want to learn something and actually showing up to learn it was wide, and most people fell straight into it. But these 3 had not. His existing students noticed immediately. These were different people from the usual faces, street-worn, rough around the edges, carrying themselves in ways that spoke of years spent navigating difficult environments. A few students exchanged quiet glances. Bruce said nothing about it. "Find a spot," he told the 3 of them. "We're working on stance and foundation tonight." They joined the class. The unfamiliarity was obvious from the first minute. They didn't know the etiquette, the terminology, or the basic starting positions, but they followed instructions, they copied movements, and when they were confused, they asked. no performed confidence. They didn't pretend to know things they didn't know. They weren't there to impress anyone. They were there to learn, and they understood that learning starts with admitting you have everything still to figure out. Marcus struggled the most. His body had years of a completely different kind of training built into it. Not formal training, but the physical education that comes from surviving difficult situations, from fighting when necessary, from learning through consequence rather than instruction. That background was real, and in many ways it was valuable. But here, in this school, it worked against him. Every instinct told him to be aggressive, to force the technique, to drive through each movement with pure muscle. Bruce kept redirecting him. Relax, stop pushing. Power comes from relaxation, not from tension. Marcus frowned. How do you get power out of being relaxed? Because tension restricts. It restricts your range of motion, your speed, your ability to coordinate the whole body. Try it both ways. Tense your arm and throw a punch. Now relax the arm completely and throw the same punch. Which one was faster? Marcus tried it, and the difference was immediate and undeniable. Okay, I feel that, but when someone is actually coming at you, the instinct is to tense up every single time. How do you override something that automatic? You practice until relaxation becomes the automatic response. You repeat the movement so many times that your nervous system learns it as the default. Your body stops asking your mind for permission and just does it. That's what training is for. 2 hours. They went for 2 hours. By the end, all three were completely spent, soaked through their clothes, muscles they had never used in those particular ways, making their presence very clearly known. But something in the quality of their movement had already begun to shift. Small adjustments, early signs, the first faint evidence of old patterns starting to change. After class, as the other students filtered out, Marcus approached Bruce and stood with him quietly for a moment. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. That day on the street, the push, how much of your actual power was that? Bruce considered giving an impressive answer, then decided against it. The truth was more instructive. About 20%, enough to make the point clearly without genuinely injuring you. Marcus went quiet. His hand moved almost unconsciously to the spot on his chest, still tender 4 days later. 20% did that to me? Yes. What does 100% do? Broken ribs, internal bleeding, depending on the exact placement and angle, possibly worse. And you pulled it, even after what we tried to do to you out there. After all of that, you still measured it and held back. Yes. Why? Because you didn't need to be destroyed. You needed to be educated. Those are two completely different objectives, and they require two completely different responses. Marcus nodded slowly. He was working through something, processing it at a level beneath the immediate surface. Thank you, he said, for not really hurting me, for teaching me instead, for giving us the chance to be here. You earned the chance by showing up, by putting what happened that day aside and walking through that door anyway. That's not a small thing. Most people can't do that. They shook hands. Not a perfunctory handshake, but one that carried the full weight of everything that had passed between them. A confrontation met with restraint, a challenge met with instruction, and two men standing on the other side of it with something neither of them had possessed before. They kept coming. Marcus, Dion, and Terry came back, every Tuesday, every Thursday, week after week, month after month. Their technique developed. Their understanding of the underlying principles deepened. Marcus's instinct to force and muscle his way through every movement gradually gave way to something more refined, though the process was slow.